Well, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. This is a special webinar aimed at increasing business for smaller retailers. And of course, it's sponsored by the Ulster County Office on Economic Development. Um, we're going to be going through 5 special tips for holiday sales and also for selling after the holidays. A lot of you may be familiar with this information, so hopefully you'll take it as a tune-up. And some of you may feel that it's actually beneficial to learn some of these tips because it'll help you sell and sell more. Selling is an art, as you know, and it's going to be something that you always need to practice and tune up with. So you know exactly who you're talking to. If I can advance here 1 minute, I will. There we go. Okay, that's me, Handsome Devil. I'm Paul Kastner, and I have been in the retail industry for 40 years. And I've worked with merchants for about 30 of those years. Um, and really, they are the lifeblood of the economy today. I think people don't recognize that. I've taught the fundamentals of retail marketing, advertising, market research, and customer service, which is very important and which we'll get into in some depth, really all over the world. And I think it's so important that you become an apostolate of customer service. And I've worked with 3 of the largest developers in the country in the shopping center industry. Some of you may be familiar with some of the centers, the closest one being the Westchester in White Plains, which is a center that I opened. And I also then went to Grand Central Terminal, historic building. They were in the process of doing a major restoration. And during that restoration, they were going to add 100 retailers and food providers. And I came on board to work with the merchants and to get exposure for the new Grand Central. Right now, I am the president of my company, Interaction Communications, which is a retail marketing and consulting company. So that's me. I can see some of your names on the screen here, so I welcome you all. Let's start right in with the first tip, and as I said, customer service is the most important thing that you can provide. You, especially being a smaller retailer. Local merchants have it all over malls and chain stores and internet retailers because you can build customer loyalty on a face-to-face basis. I think many of you know that if you're going to a mall today, a lot of times the salespeople there are really just there to earn some extra money. They don't know the products well. They don't understand customer service. And the chains today do not want to spend the dollars to train these people. And that's very sad because, in effect, they're losing customers. By the way, I just want to interject here a minute. If you have any questions, you can certainly type them in, and I will answer them probably towards the end of the seminar. Customer service is the key to that one-on-one relationship between retailer and consumer. You know, there should not be a wall between the two. You're really on the same page. You're providing a service, and they are getting product in return. Every customer survey ever undertaken, and there have been a lot of them, always have that service is as important as the merchandise selection and the price. And there's an axiom: one dissatisfied customer can equal the loss of many potential customers. Just a quick aside, I'd love to give little stories. When I was opening the Westchester, which was a mall that was extremely expensive to build and a beautiful shopping center, during the very first day of grand opening, I was walking through the center after a great opening, and I heard 2 women exiting a store, and they were very dissatisfied with the service they had received there. And what they said really floored me. They said, "I'll never come to this mall again." They didn't say, "I'll never come to this store again." So right there, they painted the entire mall with the experience that they had. Good customer service is just good business. And if you if you want to be a successful business person, it all hinges on that. You always want to receive the highest marks possible from your customers. And I don't mean on a survey necessarily, I mean in their patronage, and they're coming back to you time and time again. That's really your report card. It starts with something as simple as saying hello as somebody comes in the store. A warm smile goes a long way. And I'm not saying to barrage them with things. You could say, can I help you? If they say no, okay. But as they're walking out, with a purchase or not, always say thank you for stopping by or thank you for shopping with us. This goes a long way. You'd be surprised. People want to be recognized, and they want to feel that they are actually involved in all this. Being attentive to the customer is a key service attribute. Your sales staff should never do the following: be on phone calls, reading emails, texting, surfing, on social media sites, never be confrontational or ignoring customers. Now, confrontation is a hard one because every now and then you'll get a dissatisfied customer. And a customer may have a legitimate gripe or they may not. They may be totally wrong. But the problem is that if you start a confrontation or they start a confrontation with you on the sales floor, all the other customers are going to stop what they're doing, watch, and they will then feel there's a problem. And you need to diffuse the situation. Either say, let's continue this conversation outside, or let us go into the back room, or whatever it is. But you know, the axiom "the customer is always right" is true to some extent. A great example is Nordstrom's department store, who is known for giving outstanding customer service. And why did they get that reputation? For things that they did. There's a wonderful story about a man who was on a business trip in San Francisco, and he actually didn't pack a shirt that he wanted. He loved a shirt with white collars and a blue body and cuffs. And so he went to the Nordstrom store, and they were out of them. And he said, wow, I really would like them. The salesman said, give me a couple of hours, and I'll send them to your hotel. So that happened. He arrived at his hotel later that evening to find 4 shirts there with white collars and the rest blue. And he called up the salesman the next day and said, how did you do this so fast? He said, well, to tell you the truth, if you ever want a shirt with a blue collar and a white body, I have those. What they did was actually sewed on the collars from one shirt to another. Why? Because people talk about it, like I'm doing right now to you. If you provide that customer service, then people will tell other people, and that's a good thing. Customers should be asked if they need assistance. If they say yes, provide it. If not, keep out of their way. Keep an eye on them, but don't keep running up to them and saying, can I help you, can I help you, can I help you? You don't want to do that, because that turns somebody off, and you as a consumer yourself probably know that. This is very important. Make sure your sales staff knows your products inside out. Now, of course, during the holiday season, which we're talking about, you can provide them with fundamentals, but probably they don't have the depth of knowledge. So they should not be shy to say to a customer, please let me find out the answer for you. Because rather than fake their way through it, which a customer will see through, it's better to have the customer feel, well, I'm being really catered to. Somebody else is going to help me. Second thing is your sales staff are your ambassadors to your store. They're the front line. They're the people who are always talking to the customer, and they can be the providers of information. So when hiring sales associates, either full or part-time, personality is as important as product knowledge. I know that's not always easy, but if you have a salesperson who doesn't seem engaging, who seems to be down, how are they going to represent you? It doesn't matter how much they know the product. So you have to be cognizant of that. They should be respectful. You know, respect today is sort of a bit of a lost art, unfortunately. And I think the more you can incentivize your sales staff to be respectful and all the other attributes, the better. They're also information providers, and this is overlooked a lot of times. If you have a customer who is obviously happy with a purchase, they just made a purchase, well, then your sales staff can say, by the way, we have an upcoming sale in 3 weeks, or a special event, or whatever the store is doing. And that's something that passing on of information accounts for additional visits to the store. And these are called unplanned visits many times, which just means that money falls to the bottom line. Suggestive selling is critical. Now, by that I mean, you can always have your sales staff talk about add-on items. So, as an example, you're a clothing store, and a woman has just purchased a wonderful skirt, let's say. Now, a good salesperson will say, wait a minute, can you wait 1 minute? I think I have something that you might like to go with that, and bring out a blouse or a scarf or something. That is suggestive selling, and that gives them the ability to become real salespeople and add to your bottom line. Sales associates should be praised. This is something overlooked too. And if you know other surveys that have surveyed people who are on a sales floor, recognition is as important as monetary remuneration. It's very important, because people want to be recognized. I don't know, you've seen in many stores, we have Employee of the Month, and some people might say, boy, that's corny. It really isn't. Now, those who aren't performing well, first try to mentor them, or pair them up with somebody that you can have mentor them, because they may be very good, but right now they're unsure of what they're doing. So if you can work with them, you may have a very good salesperson at the end of the day. And incentives. I believe in incentives to the sales staff. Going back to Nordstrom's, I had the pleasure years ago of meeting the Nordstrom's family, and I went up to one of the brothers who was running the company, and I said, can you please tell me your secret of how you get good customer service? And he said, we hire right, and we give incentives. Two things. Hire right, in other words, what we were talking about before, that you're actually going to hire somebody with a personality, you're going to hire somebody who can really engage the customer. But incentives too, in their case, they're on a very good commission basis. So whatever it is, it doesn't have to be grandiose. It could be just something that, that really just makes somebody feel special for that time. Talking about incentives, you want to incentivize your customers to return during the season and after. Here are some of the things to do, and this can happen all year round. First of all, exclusive customer offers. So if you have a core group of customers, and we'll talk about how to garner them in a little while, but if you correspond with them either by mail or email today, most likely, you can give them information that makes them feel special, like we'll have an exclusive shopping hours just for you, or we'll have a gift with purchase. If you spend X amount of dollars, you'll receive something from us. And they're the first to receive information about new products especially that they may have an affinity for. I love these bounce back offers, and this is easy to do and inexpensive. So during the holiday season, when somebody makes a purchase, the customer is given an offer such as a percentage off, or buy one get one free, or half price. That's good after the season. So it might be in January. Bring this coupon in, bring this flyer in between January 1st and 15th, and get 15% off. So these are things that give life to the holiday season long after the official season is closed. So what I recommend people doing is, by the way, when somebody makes a purchase, have the sales associate slip one of these offers into the bag without letting the customer see it. Why? Because when they go to open their package and they pull out their item, all of this little paper comes fluttering out that they didn't expect, and wow, look what I just got. Coupon books have been used a lot. I mean, that's nothing new in the world of retail. That's something that actually has been going on a long time. but they still work to an extent. You can also do coupons over the internet, and today doing that with being able to print them out at home, that really, I get a lot of offers like that, by the way, from companies that I really enjoy. And I print those out, and I'll bring it to the store, and lo and behold, I've got something that nobody else who had that ability didn't get. Contests are very good too. They're engaging. Something you want to do is engage the customer. A lot of times you want this call to action, and that's an important phrase, because when you can give customers something to make them respond, a call to action, in other words, that really is incredible. And there are all sorts of contests. We don't have to go into the specifics of it, but you can come up with some very creative ones. Product demonstrations, if your business lends itself to a product demonstration. Let's say you sell beautiful glassware. Maybe you can get a glass blower in one day to do a product demonstration and invite these people to come to it. I mean, this is something that you don't see very often. There are some, I think it's Cold Stone Creamery, the ice cream purveyor, that actually has their people making the ice cream right in front of everybody. It becomes a show. And again, this is almost theater in retailing, and that's an important thing. Theater is very good, and people don't get that on an everyday basis. So if you can set yourself apart by doing that, that is terrific. As I said, all different customer incentives. These are just a couple that I took as sort of an example. The buy one get one free is always good, and it doesn't have to be the same size product. It could be, the least expensive of the two. You might have something one day. Here's lots of gifts one day not to miss. That's an immediate call to action, and that's something that you actually want to be able to give to the customer, so they really, really feel that they have it up on everyone else. But there are many of those types of things. Here's something that I have been a big proponent of for a long time: cross-promote with other local retailers. First of all, why should you do this? There was an old saying when Macy's and Gimbels used to reside on 34th Street. Does Macy's tell Gimbels? Well, they should have, because if Macy's could not fulfill something that the customer is looking for and sent them over to Gimbels, well, then they're both winners. It didn't take them outside of that particular shopping area, which is very important. You want to make sure that people shop locally. Now, this is good if you guys are in a downtown area or even in a strip center or whatever, because it's a missed opportunity not to do it. And the cost, well, it's not very expensive. What it really is providing other merchants, restaurants, with your information that they can give to their customers, and in return, you'll do the same for them. So really, it's a back and forth situation where everybody benefits, and it's just the cost of a flyer, a business card, or whatever. If you have a relationship, say you're a clothing store and you have a relationship with a local restaurant, you may do something such as, if you give a customer over a certain purchase, you give them a coupon for 15% off their meal or a free drink, whatever it is. It's that back and forth. Now, what does the restaurant get out of it? Exposure, maybe a customer for life. But this is easy, and it's really, as they call it a lot, low-hanging fruit. So I would challenge everybody to really look into this and make friends with the person next to you or down the street or whatever it is, because it'll behoove all of you. Again, try to get an immediate call to action to motivate the customer to come back. And the immediacy is that they see it immediately. The action may be a little later down the road. So really, you have time to decide what you want to do in the end result. Today, a lot of the call to actions, believe it or not, and which has made January one of the better months, are now these gift cards. People more and more are giving gift cards as presents, especially with older people, where you don't buy toys. So what you would do is give a gift card or promote your gift card at your register, And that way, when the gift is given on December 25th, that person will hold on to it, burn a hole in their pocket for a while, saying, I got to use it. And again, they will come back, maybe in January, maybe in February. But there's a really simple thing to do. And, if you don't have an electronic card today, which are probably the way to go, and there are a lot of services, by the way, that will do this for you. And they'll do it for you at little cost, because what they're getting out of it is what's called the float for a bank. So when somebody buys a gift card, that money goes immediately to them, but they get to keep it. They may keep it for a month or so, and every time they keep it, it's earning interest. So, it's for their benefit as well as yours. So you might be able to negotiate very good deals with them. Basically, this is what it comes down to. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. And that is an old axiom, but it seems as true today as ever. Okay, the big one, communication with your core customers is key to stimulate return business. Here is one of the most unusual statistics that you got to remember. 20% of your customers are responsible for 80% of your annual sales. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? 20% equal 80% of sales. And by that we mean these are your core customers. These are the folks that like you, which is great, because you can talk to them. You know they have an affinity for your store and your products. So this is something that you have to really spend some time and cultivate. That other 20% in revenue, well, that could be considered almost gravy. That could make or break a year for somebody. If you break down your expenses and your cost of doing business, and find your break point where you start to make a profit, I mean, certainly that 20% could return thousands and thousands of dollars if done correctly. So keep this somewhere where you can see it. Post it up. Tell your sales associates that this is what we're working towards. We want to make sure that the 80% are retained, that's customer retention, and we want to make sure that the 20% are going to be new acquisitions as far as customers goes. And then eventually they go into the 80% category. So, the 20% category. So really, it's something that everybody can focus on. And I've always asked people to put a sign like this in their break room or in the back room or whatever to remind all the sales associates what the common goal is. Okay, so a quick review, and we'll go over this, and then we're going to leave some time to have questions, hopefully. First one, provide outstanding customer service. And I don't want to belabor it, but I will, only because it's not good. It's not good business. I'll tell you another quick story, if I may. My wife, who is also in the retail shopping center business, was at a property that she was overseeing, and she went into a major department store to buy, at the time, some stockings. And she found the one she wanted. She found a couple of them. She looked around, and there was not one salesperson who could help her, and there was not one salesperson that could actually ring up her purchase. She wanted to pay for them. Well, my wife, who is 4'11", who thinks she's 7'2", actually walked out of the store with those in hand, holding them high above her head, yelling, "I'm leaving the store. I've got your items." So there, again, it leaves a bad taste in somebody's mouth. I should tell you that she did go to the mall management office where, our company had employees there, and she told them the story, and they did give the stockings back. She didn't plan to keep them, just to prove a point. One other story. Many years ago, I was going to meet my wife and a friend at a restaurant called Blue Smoke in New York. It's run by the famous restaurateur Danny Myers. And as I'm walking in, everybody's walking out. And I was confused, obviously. And I was more confused because I saw coming out, too, my closest friend with a bunch of friends as well. They were eating there, unbeknownst to my wife and her friend. But they had a small kitchen fire, so everybody came outside and were waiting in I think it was February, it was chilly, it was cold, and a lot of people just left. They just left. So about 45 minutes later, they give us the okay to come in, and we do. We sit down. Our friends happen to be at the table just opposite us. So we had two different waiters. Their waiter came over and said, thank you for waiting. Because all around them, tables were empty. People had left. They didn't leave money for the food or a tip or whatever. But he said, thank you for waiting. Let me buy you a drink, which was very nice. Our waiter said nothing. So we have our meals, and the check comes, and our friend who was there on a business trip, and my wife happened to be a client as well, she said, I'm picking up the check. And when the waiter presented to her, she said, look, I just want to tell you something. The waiter over there did the right thing. He thanked people for staying, and in return, you know, he was given a good gratuity. You didn't offer anything. And he was embarrassed, actually. He said, you know, you're right. Let me see what I can do. So he went away, and he comes back a little while and says, okay, it's all taken care of. And, oh, good. What? And he said, the meal is on us. And we said, no, we're not here for that. We're not trying to get something for nothing. And we argued with him, and he said, hold on a minute. And he went and got his manager, a very nice young lady. And she came over and said, no, we insist. Danny Myers believes in customer service. And she said, besides, you'll tell other people about this. She actually came out and said that. Now, all you folks listening to this say, you may be the 200th person that I've told this story to. So it really pays to provide that service, because it goes a long way in the end result. Sales staff are your ambassadors for your business. And so remember that they should always be attentive. They should not be talking on the phone. They should not be texting or going on Facebook. Any of that can be done in the break room or go outside and do it. But nothing is worse than going up to a register, and I'm sure you've all had this experience, and somebody's eating their lunch, and it looks terrible. It looks like you're an afterthought. So you got to be sure that they are your ambassadors, that they give good information to the people who are the customers, the core customers, that they put information into the shopping bags, that they talk up the store, there's a new product coming out, whatever it is, they really are your front line, and don't minimize their potential role. Incentivize your customers to return to your business during and after the season. One of the things that I hope all of you are doing is keeping a database of your core customers. This is, you know, today, in today's world, we used to have to buy mailing lists a lot of times, or we'd have to get addresses and send out information via mail, which got to be costly. Today, by getting somebody's email address, certainly you're going to be able to do this very cost effectively. Now, getting an email address is not as easy as one thinks. Some people are hesitant to do it. So my suggestion is you give them a form to fill out. They can go, they made their purchase, maybe they'll go over to the side of the register, give them a pen. And on that, you'll ask for their email address, but also ask for what they're interested in receiving, so you don't inundate them. So if they're only interested in receiving information about sales and not about a special event, well, then you know you can only send it to them when you have a sale. You know, with devices today that you can manage, like Constant Contact or any of the other management systems, it's easy to set up fields. So you will put a person in and say they're interested in this and this only, and when it goes time to send out the announcement, it'll only go to them. So that's really a very good way of doing it, and make sure that they're, you know, always kept in the loop. Cross promote with the other local retailers. You know, maybe, hopefully some of you are saying right now, gee, I didn't think of that, or maybe it's worth a try, or whatever. So I really think that it's going to be something that to put into practice is going to be invaluable for both of you. You know, again, the little drawing of one person scratching the other person's back is relatively the bottom line. It's really true. Communication with your core customers is key, as I said. You want return business. You want unexpected business, unplanned visits. So that really is important to keep in your mind that that this way you communicate today is very good. I found this the other day, and I think this is one of the best things that you can somehow impart on the people who are your customers. When you buy from a small business, you're not helping a CEO buy a third vacation home. You're helping a little girl get dance lessons, a little boy get his team jersey, a mom put food on the table, a dad pay a mortgage, or a student pay for college. I mean, that sort of says it. That's why this big Shop Local campaign is underway, because you really want people to understand that, you're all in this together. It's a fabric of the community, and you're part of that fabric. So I would really encourage you to keep that in mind. And listen, I would go so far as to maybe one day do a little thing on your counter with a saying on it. People don't realize that. They think, wow, I'm going to go to the big department store and I'm going to get all the bargains in the world. Well, there's no such thing as real bargains today. I think we all know that. All these sales, which are absolutely ridiculous. Macy's has a one-day sale every other day. So they have trained the customer today to anticipate sales, but they give the sales without really good customer service. And if you can give that, that's terrific. I'm not saying you don't want to do sales, but you don't want to do them all the time. You'd rather a customer come to you because they like your products and they like you. They're not going to come in just because I'm going to get 5% off or 10% off or even 30% off of something that is never really 30. It's always of the manufacturer's suggested retail price, which is much higher than they usually sell for anyway. So that's going to be something to always consider. Be happy to answer any questions that we don't get to today. Take my number down or my email. I always want to be sure to keep in touch with you folks, because I think the more I can help, the more our whole county can flourish, and we're all in this together. So let's see, do we have questions? Here's one. How do I, as a business owner, teach my sales staff to be more personable? Well, that's a good question. First of all, you got to hire those people. You got to hire for personality. Now, a lot of people are shy too, and that's something you have to understand, that maybe people aren't really good with being interactive with other people, but they can learn. People always want to strive for things that are better. So I would encourage you to continually work with these people and give them some hints what they can do. You always have heard that if you're talking before a large group and you're nervous about it, always picture them without clothes, because that makes you feel more at ease. Well, it's really the same thing here. Just give them some hints and some clues that they can put into practice, and when they see results, they will get better at it. Let's see. Do you think customer surveys are a good thing? Wow. Let's start that part of it, because of the second follow-up part. I have always encouraged customer surveys. And customer surveys are simple to do. In a small store or small retailer, you simply ask people to fill out a questionnaire. Maybe keep it as simple as possible, maybe 10 questions. And you're going to ask them things like their age, you're going to ask their economic grouping, you're going to ask their race, perhaps. You're going to ask how many times they've shopped at your store, what other stores they like. There's a whole range, and you can go on the internet and get any of these questions. And you give that to the customer and say, if you take a minute to fill this out and drop it in the box that we have here, we'll give you a 10% discount or something like that. Incentives are good for that as well. And I've done many types of customer surveys. One is what we just talked about. Another one is intercepts, where we literally talk to a person as they're leaving the store. That way you can see immediately who's made a purchase and who hasn't, and you're going to want to talk to both groups of people. because if they've made a purchase, you want to understand why and how much they spent. If they didn't, why didn't they? They couldn't find their product, they weren't happy with the store, whatever it is. You don't know the answers to these unless you ask. I've also done something called focus groups, usually with much bigger venues, but this is one of the most disheartening things you can do, because you get a group of customers or non-customers in a room, and you have a moderator, a facilitator asking questions pointed at your store and the competition. The things you hear you might not like, and usually the client, and whoever the client is that is paying for the paying for the survey, is behind a glass panel of one-way mirror, and boy, it's a very sobering thing. And the second part of the question is, how do I get a customer to complete them and complete them accurately? Well, if the questions aren't really hard, they'll be accurate. Nobody's going to really lie, especially if you don't ask for their name and you just give them on the spot a bounce back coupon for 10%. But I would encourage you to ask them for their email address on the same form. They can check a box off. Would you like to receive more information from our store? Yes or no. That gets checked off. So that's something to consider. You know, you could ask 10 people to fill it out, maybe one will, but that's okay. You'll keep asking 10 more and 10 more and 10 more until you have a significant amount that is statistically accurate, and that really helps you get a feel for your customer. We all think we know who our customer is. We all think we know, oh, they're so-and-so, and they're in this economic group, and they come from here or there. You'd be surprised at the stuff you don't know. So that's another thing. By the way, there is a question: can we get a copy of this PowerPoint? You certainly can. The sponsors of this, the Ulster County Economic Development, will be posting it on a YouTube a video that they'll send you a link to. And we encourage you to send it to other people as well, because if they have missed this, maybe you can tell them it was worthwhile. Hopefully you can, and that way they'll be able to really benefit this. And you can go back and refer to it as often as possible. Another question: what's the best way to handle irate customers? What if they don't step outside? Well, that's a tough one. Let's say they're just intent upon making a scene. One of the best things is to walk away at that point. And if they follow you and continue, you're going to have to say, please leave our store. If that doesn't work, you're going to have to say, I don't want to resort to this, but you'll have to call the police. But these are rare things that happen. But you do get people who are itching for a fight. They want to make a point. They feel they've been slighted, whatever it is. You certainly want to make sure that they're not making that scene. So I, as a manager of a store, have a business owner who doesn't agree with the idea of providing incentives. What can I do? And if I don't have the budget, how can I do it? Well, that's always an issue. If you're a manager of a store and not the owner, maybe the owner is absentee and doesn't understand the value of this, I would say, first of all, you can find backup information on the internet. You can really go through some things and find, dig down, and you'll see how incentives have worked. My best suggestion would be to ask that owner to give it a try. It doesn't have to be on a very elaborate basis. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. But really, a little expenditure will return, hopefully, triple-fold, quadruple-fold, whatever it is. So it's really, I know it's frustrating if you're a manager. I understand that situation, but education. It's really continuing to educate your owner as to the value in this. I always like to put it this way: you have to tell them what's in it for them. And that goes for anything in life, really. If you can show a person how it will benefit them personally, then you're more apt to get buy-in to something like this. So That's how you do it. If they don't have a budget for this, well, again, it doesn't have to be a lot of money. It could simply be, printing up some coupons. So, and also, please impress upon the owner that it takes a little time to cultivate this. It's not going to happen overnight. But if they talk to other people who have done this successfully, they'll get a good sense of um, how this will benefit them, how their bottom line will increase. And that's the whole business, increasing the bottom line. Another question is, how do we identify the core customers? That's a good one. How do you identify them? Well, one way, obviously, is visually. A lot of people will pay by credit card, so you can keep a list and refer back to it. But the best way probably is to make sure that they become members of your database. And you ask them to fill this out and give us your information because you obviously like us and we like you. So a core customer is more of a nebulous thing if you don't really know who they are. There's nothing better. I always say that the mission today for a small retailer is sort of like if you remember those movies of the Old West, and somebody went into the general store, and the guy behind the counter, the owner, would say, "Hey, Bob, hi, Joe." They knew each other. Now, of course, there weren't a lot of other competitors, so they could know each other, but it's almost like that today, especially in some smaller towns or communities, because you get to know these people. And that's what they want. They want to feel that one-to-one connection. And I think that if you can establish that, then certainly this is going to be a win-win for everybody. Let's see. Also, how do you maintain that 80%? Well, as I said, communication, communication, communication. You're talking to them all the time. You're making sure that they get the information that they need. So it really be good. Here's another question: how do you use social media to promote your business? Wow, this is a specialty today. Now everybody thinks it's the panacea. Wow, we go on Facebook or we Twitter and we're going to get all these customers. Well, not necessarily true, because everybody's trying to do it as well. Social media can come in to play in a number of ways. First of all, if you do establish a Facebook page, if you do have one, then you can encourage people to give reviews. Obviously, it goes both ways. You can get some bad reviews too, which you don't necessarily want, but you're opening yourself up to it. But on Facebook, you can also put up your latest offerings. I'm sure people out there who I'm talking to have Facebook pages, and if so, it's really going to be important that your information is on there. I get something maybe daily from one particular store that I like. Now, I don't find it an intrusion because I can click off of that, or I can just bypass it on Facebook. Every now and then, my little cursor goes to it, and I click on it, and I found, wow, look at that. That's a product I wanted, and it's on sale. So don't think that's not important. Twitter is another thing. Twitter today is sort of this instant communication feed, and it's just another media channel. And hopefully that if you get people to feel that they like you, they'll tweet something out. Just purchase such and such at the store. Just got this wonderful scented candle. Things like that obviously are good for you, and people like to give advice, and that's what Twitter is a lot of times. Of course, a lot of times it's nonsensical too. You've got to ensure that you administer this all the time. People who are religious on Twitter usually hire companies to do it all the time and send out tweets to various things to various people, and you build up your Twitter following, and that way you're talking to a lot of people, and it becomes a numbers game. Let's say you have 6,000 followers, and 10% or 600 respond to an ad or something. That's incredible. That would be the desire. I remember when we used to do direct mail, and we would send out tens of thousands of pieces. If we got a 2% return, we were happy. So think of it in those terms. The more you put out, hopefully the more you'll get back. I also really do believe in traditional types of media. It's not to be overlooked. Of course, these are more expensive, but to put something in a paper, a magazine of local interest, if you're doing an event, don't forget, by the way, there's PR value in that as well. Maybe it will be picked up by your local newspaper if you send them a release. If you are a company that has the advantage of being close to a main highway thoroughfare, billboards are wonderful ways of building a brand. Now, these are not immediate calls to action. These are brand building devices. And what you want to do is get the name in people's head, the top of the mind position, so that when they're thinking of going to buy such and such, your facility, your business comes up first. And so billboards are very good for that, especially a lot of the creative billboards today get people's attention. Now, remember, they only have a few seconds to view the billboard, and a lot of people make the terrible mistake of trying to cram every bit of information onto the billboard so that nobody could possibly read it in a short period of time. So, make it engaging. Humor works wonderfully. Visual representation of a product is great too. So that is a traditional form that I think is good too. If you have a special event that can reach a broad audience, then certainly radio, the electronic media, is very good. All you have to do is place some radio time, buy some radio time, and that way you're reaching people that might have a call to action quickly because they're in their car. These types of media still have a place. It's not all Twitter. It's not all Facebook. It's not all Instagram. Or what the new flavor of the month is, coming up soon. You get bogged down with all of this. And remember that traditional advertising and marketing is very good. And I brushed on public relations. You don't have to hire a public relations firm if you have a good story. All you have to do is hire somebody to write it if you can't. There are a lot of freelancers out there who can write very engaging press releases, and you send it on. Now, it's a little harder today because if you're sending something to any of the media, they want you to do it right over the internet and send it as an email. It's not like the old days where a lot of us used to be able to form one-to-one relationships with editors and columnists. But it's the old saying, cast your bread on the water, you never know what comes back to you. So that's another way of thinking. So you all have public relations opportunities, a new product, something that is of interest, of human interest. Let's say you're engaged in doing some sort of a charitable tie-in, which is really great. You do a charitable tie-in, and then whoever is participating, any of the customers coming in, they feel they're not only getting a product, but they're helping as well. So that's another way of doing it. I think we may have run out of questions, and we have like 8 minutes for you to finish your lunch, and hopefully you have enjoyed this. I've enjoyed presenting it, and I'm hoping that in the future we'll get back together for some other tips. I just want to wish you all a happy sales season, because a lot of you make 50% or more of your annual income during these upcoming 5 weeks. So thank you again, and keep looking in your